Go ahead, Martin.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Climate Conversation brought to you by the Windsor Park Neighborhood Association. My name is Martin Lukey and I'm the chair of the Climate Committee. Tonight, we're going to talk about electric vehicles. We're all going to be electric vehicle consumers pretty soon if you aren't already. So tonight, we're going to learn a lot about them. We have a couple of great panelists tonight. First is Ed Latson, who is the founder and executive director of the Austin Regional Manufacturers Association, who represents a couple of electric vehicle manufacturers like Helion and Volcon here in Austin. And I want to pitch it now. First of all, welcome, Ed.
Welcome. Good to see you guys.
And now I want to pitch it to my co-host, Barrett Sundberg.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you all. Our next panelist is Amy Atchley. She's a leader in social impact, possessing a diverse skill set that draws from over 20 years of experience serving vulnerable communities through her work with the nonprofit sector, with agencies like Meals on Wheels Central Texas and the VH1 Save the Music Foundation. And so she's very Austin. Our theme tonight is electric vehicle manufacturing in Austin. Amy's role at Austin Energy is building frameworks of equity through transportation, electrification access by collaborating with community stakeholders and historically underserved communities. These community leadership roles, in addition to Austin Energy, include board of directors at EcoRise and the Austin Forum on Technology and Society. She is also a working Austin-based singer-songwriter, so we are definitely on the local theme. Welcome, Amy.
It's great to be here.
Well, we've got electric vehicles as possible things in all of our houses. And the reason we have both of y'all here is to talk about kind of aspects of the ownership, the how you buy them, what they look like, and what's out there. I guess the first question is for Ed. What does Austin Regional Manufacturers Association really do?
Yeah, so we are a trade association for companies in Central Texas, advocating on their behalf for the things that they might need. We're really focused on lifting the sector visibility, making sure that people in Central Texas know what's being made here and some of the things they can be proud of. And then also really looking at the workforce pipeline, making sure that there's the talent in the region to support these businesses. As well as, pulling everybody together for learning events. And, everybody likes to get together and find out what everybody else is doing. So sharing and peer networking.
So what are some of these companies manufacturing here? I mean, everybody's heard of Tesla, but who are some of the companies?
I grew up in Austin, Barrett, and one of the things I find really interesting is we see ourselves as a technology town. Or a music town. And, but when we think about technology, we don't necessarily think about the hardware. And we think about Google and Facebook and Indeed and, all these kind of internet companies. But the truth is there's a tremendous amount of hardware being made in Central Texas. There's about 1,800 manufacturers here. They produce over $18 billion of product. And some of the most advanced companies in the world are doing things right here in our backyard. A lot of it is around semiconductors, around chips, for your electronic devices. You can think of companies like Samsung Semiconductor, NXP, Infineon. You have companies that make tools that goes in those semiconductors like Applied Materials and Tokyo Electron. And then you have a lot of electronic companies here doing a wide variety of things. You might be surprised to know that like Apple's most powerful desktop is made here in Austin at a company called Flextronics. They're a contract manufacturer and make that for Apple. We have people making rockets, people making advanced blood diagnostic equipment, or, another one that always surprises people is ICU Medical that makes 1/3 of the IV bags made in the United States are made right here in Austin. So if that plant goes down, it's a critical shortage, in the healthcare industry. Maybe more to the point of this conversation, we also have a great EV sector. You have a lot of companies starting to grow here and form that are going to be major players in the EV space. And we can talk about those here in a bit.
Well, is it when you said you're working on talent basically for these companies? Is it true that you might be helping Tesla on finding talent as well?
Well, we're helping all manufacturers that are here develop talent streams. And I have met with Tesla and I've toured their plant in Fremont and their battery plant in Reno. So I'm very familiar with the kind of operation that they're building here and what they're looking for and people. And it's a really exciting thing that's happening here. I mean, we kind of take economic development for granted in Central Texas just because we've had so many wins. But this is a world-class facility, from a company that is driving change around the world. And they're going to be headquartered here. I think it's an incredible opportunity for all of us to be a part of that in some way. And I'm really excited to see what they're going to do.
Well, on the other side of that, Amy, we've got the need for charging these vehicles, and and Austin Energy has been very progressive in helping consumers, and I wanted people to understand what y'all do. So, can you give us kind of a background of what Austin Energy is offering?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, I'm on the electric vehicles and emerging technologies team, which is pretty unique for a utility to have their own dedicated EV team. But we do, and we just celebrated 10 years, our 10-year anniversary here in Austin, and we're leading the charge in a lot of these areas nationally, and even getting some global recognition. The big question is, do we have the infrastructure to support these EVs? Austin right now is the number 4 city best EV equipped in terms of infrastructure in the US. We've got about 1,300 electric vehicle charging ports in our community charging network. We've got 30 fast chargers, and we've got a long way to go, but we are leading in a lot of that. All of those stations are powered by 100% Texas wind, because we want to make sure that we are actually addressing climate and that we're not, turning an electric vehicle into, just something that's going to, cause, more climate impact. So our focus really is infrastructure, but other things too. We really do sort of get down into what I think is the most important thing, which is the marketing and the outreach and the education. We work with the people, we are basically, public servants. And our role is really to work with the community to ensure that people are getting the information. My role is really to make sure that people that have been historically left out of the conversation, that they're being brought in and they're being put to the front of the line of this technology and conversation and access. We have affordability. Those charging ports I mentioned that we have available in our network, our charging network, community charging, can be accessed for $4.17 a month for unlimited access to all of those charging ports. Did this because we want to really make this affordable for everyone. That becomes the new fuel cost. If you are driving an electric vehicle, there's no more gas. You're paying $50 a year with that $4.17 a month. So we're bringing affordability. We're bringing sustainability. Wow. We're bringing outreach. We have a program that, is super important, and it's around influencing our future leaders. And it's called EVs for Schools. This is a program where we are working with public school systems, and we're bringing the charging infrastructure to public schools combined with EV curriculum. We launched that through EcoRise, which is an amazing company. They're working, a nonprofit that's working across the country with communities. They are helping us launch this EVs for Schools program. We initially launched in 4 Title I schools right here in Austin, Texas. And now this program and curriculum is being taught and launched in 122 schools across Central Texas. So we're seeing.
Let me catch up with that. What's a Title I school? And then what does this program look like when you actually do it?
Absolutely. Title I schools are schools that are economically disadvantaged, the student body and families. And so they don't have the same resources that some of the other more affluent schools have. And they are identified as such through the state of Texas. And, those are the schools that we want to be out in and really pushing this, because we want to shift the conversation at the dinner table. We want the students basically teaching their parents, this is what the future is. And the students, I can tell you, I have the pleasure of getting to get out into the schools and working with the kids. And they really do understand climate impact. They know that this is going to be one of the greatest challenges of their generation. And they want to be a part of the solution. So we're really working to bring environmental and social justice through this program, Evie's for Schools. We have the teachers. The way we launch the program is through creating what we call a human-centered design program, which is we worked with the community. We listened to the voice of the community and helped design the program in combination with the school district. We surveyed the teachers, the staff, the principals, and in identifying which 4 schools were going to get the pilot, we chose the schools that would champion it across the board. We chose the schools that were economically disadvantaged. We also chose the schools that had at least one person in that school community that would drive an EV and plug in so that the students could have this educational living lab.
That's what I was wondering. So do they see it? What schools did this go in? And
it launched
their car every day, or
the what? What was the last thing you said? I'm sorry.
Does the person, the person who has an EV, just drives their car in? Do they have class visits, or what actually happens?
Well, believe it or not, there's quite a few. A little disturbance in the background. Are you guys getting an echo?
Not now.
Okay. So basically, what you would be surprised, there are quite a few teachers that are driving used EVs. We have a robust used EV market here in Austin, and I can tell you a little bit later about how to access that. But we found that through the surveys. And so it was really competitive. The teachers wanted that workplace charging. There you go. They really wanted that workplace charging so that they can charge while they're at school. And what's happening is the students are seeing their heroes plugging in every day, and then they're getting the curriculum. And so in the 4 schools we launched here in Austin, it was Travis, Navarro, Aikens, and Keeling. We're reaching over 6,500 students with this program alone right here locally. And what happened with AISD after we launched the project and they saw sort of the momentum behind it, the accelerating the adoption of the philosophies through the teachers and the students, they decided to deploy 17 more schools, making them EV ready. They were going through with using a bond that we citizens elected for them to get the money to help upgrade their schools. And 17 of those schools through that bond have had the conduit laid so that they can now just add chargers. And so one by one, they're doing it. We're working on other things as well around school bus electrification. That is on the horizon, and it's something that's going to take a lot of collaboration. It's not just Austin Energy, it's collaborating with several partners. And that's why I love this work, is because it really is all of us coming together, and we really do have to work together, collaborate, and that's the way that we're going to get this done.
Ed, I noticed that you are also working with Austin Community College and AISD, and looks like Pflugerville ISD and UT School of Engineering. What are you doing with those organizations?
Well, it goes back to our workforce pipeline efforts. Companies around town, and I don't think it's different than other sectors as well, but attracting and maintaining talent is the number one challenge people face. And they're really struggling to get frontline and also technician level talent. And technician would be somebody goes and puts in equipment, services equipment, keeps it running well. And a plant like Tesla, you're going to see a lot of robotics and automation. And you need people that can maintain, those machines. And so a group like Austin Community College can really help create that technician level ready person. And these are really good jobs, that can pay a significant wage. And we want to make sure that people locally get these opportunities, as opposed to Austin having to import the talent. But Austin has a terrific workforce. We have 65,000 workers in manufacturing sector. People move here because it's a highly skilled workforce that's coveted, but it's stretched thin. We've had so many people moving here, so many companies expanding that, it needs to probably add about another 5 to 10,000 workers over the next year.
Well, it sounds like, Amy, with y'all's program, with the schools that you are in the long term, building those people who are going to have interest in that arena already, just by the virtue of their experience in their own schools, and see the opportunities.
Yeah, and Martin, if I can just comment on that, I mean, it's hugely important because, I talked in the beginning about how we have this perception of Austin as a high-tech town, but nobody really knows, about the manufacturing sector and what's being made here. And when you think manufacturing, if you're not familiar with it, you think, dirty jobs, old school, no future, but really nothing could be further from the truth. The average wage in a high-tech plant here, like in a semiconductor, is $106,000 a year. They are highly advanced. It's very clean. There's nothing dirty about it. It's not repetitive. You're solving different challenges every day. So I think these are things that people could get excited about if they're more aware of, how they could fit into a team environment like that.
I think, I'm so glad to learn about what you guys are doing, Ed, because I do think the workforce development is absolutely key in this transition. What we're seeing in such a disruptive technology as electric vehicles, let's take a look at the auto dealership industry. There's a lot of uncertainty around that adoption from the auto dealers. It's going to completely change their business model. There's no more maintenance on these vehicles. You're not going to have any more oil changes, no more, spark plugs. There's none of that. You're not going to have that return business. So what we really do need to do is help with this transition, develop the workforce development so there's a place for people to go. So I couldn't be more happy to hear that that's happening. We really, want to develop that as well. I do happen to know that Del Valley School, High School, is working with Tesla around a high school pipeline from high school into some of these jobs that you're talking about. It's really powerful, and it really does need to happen in order for us to make this transition.
Yeah, I love Del Valley ISD. I think they've done a great job. They have a very career-ready workforce mentality. For AISD and other school districts, we've launched a manufacturing academy that takes juniors and seniors and gives them the skills they need to be at that technician level talent. And then we have about 10 companies that are participating in that to hire these students directly out of this program, and then pay for them to go get an associate's if they so want it. If not, they can just keep working. But it's a really great program that helps move people, out of poverty, really, and gives them a middle-class wage. So it's a terrific program.
So this academy, so is it a separate location, or is this a program that you're doing?
Yeah,
in schools?
It is. It actually is a separate location. So it's housed at the ACC Highland campus, which is off Airport on 290 in that area. And students would bus from their high school and go take their classes in the morning or in the afternoon at the academy, train in the lab, work with companies that are supporting it with their mentors and their engagement with industry. And then they go back and be a normal high school student at the other half of the day. So it's a pretty innovative program. It does require some coordination between multiple entities, but ultimately I think it's very student focused and effective.
That sounds awesome. I have a different question that someone had asked us about on the manufacturing side. It's a different kind of bottleneck factor for the growing industry, if you will. Someone wants to know, how are the supply chain problems affecting EV companies in Austin? And do you get any advantage from sourcing locally?
I mean, everybody's talking about supply chain trouble. I meet with a lot of different owners and business leaders, and everybody has a issue that they're short on something. For instance, I met with a food manufacturer the other day that couldn't find mustard seeds, and that was stopping him from making some of his products. EV manufacturers are particularly vulnerable to ICs right now, integrated circuits and semiconductors. There's a lot about that in the media. The irony of that is that that's something Austin's really strong in. We have significant players in that space that are contributing to that shortfall. That they're trying to make as many chips as possible, and they're doing a great job. It's just there's not enough factories making chips right now. The demand's gotten so high. So supply chain is an issue. There's also a variety of weird things that people are short on. It can be everything from a certain kind of material or a bolt, or you name it. It can be short for a while or have a long lead time. Just think about what we go through personally in a grocery store. Whether it's during the pandemic, it was toilet paper or paper towels, right? I think now for factories, it's just a variety of issues.
Well, it's quite a conversation that's happening out there regarding that supply chain idea. It makes you want to set up manufacturing in America for everything.
Well, hey, I mean, that's exactly right, Martin. We really got exposed, during the pandemic, that we were short domestic capabilities, and whether that's medical supplies or healthcare, or in the case what we're talking about now, integrated circuits, that are really the key to making all these next generation products that are going to really impact climate change. We need to really invest in that. And I guess the good news is that there's a bipartisan desire to really increase domestic capacity. And I see that manifesting, and it's going to impact Central Texas. And I've been doing this for 8 years now. I've never seen so much bipartisan agreement. You can't get people to agree on anything, in Congress, except that we need more funding around semiconductors and pharmaceuticals and personal protection gear, here in the United States. So I'm excited to see how that's going to manifest.
Well, I think that is important. The rare times government really can unite, sometimes it can be a very helpful contributor to enabling businesses to move forward and enabling people to get a fuller slice of the developments that are happening. We have another question on that line on a local level. Someone had been looking into what is called the Austin Climate Equity Plan. They said this has been in existence since 2015. What are some specific achievements from the plan thus far? Amy, can you tell us what that is and what's been going on with the Climate Equity Plan?
Yeah, well, I think in 2015, it did initially launch. A lot has happened in 5 years with sort of the acceleration of climate change. And so what is the recent news on the Austin Climate Equity Plan is that Council at the end of September formally approved sort of the newer edition of the Climate Equity Plan. And it's pretty amazing. It's taking directly this impact of emissions. Originally, it was the goal for the city to be net zero by 2050. The new plan is pushing that to 2040. So that's the new goal there. But the other thing that's happened with this, and it's been a driver for the update and the edit, is that we really realize that not everyone experiences climate change the same. Communities of color, low-income communities disproportionately experience, bad air quality. If we have floods, if we have fires, they're disproportionately affected. And so they really wanted to reshift the narrative on this plan so that we are lifting up the most vulnerable so that they are not so deeply impacted. Really it's aligning with some of the national conversations, global conversations that we are all having right now, that's going on in the White House and beyond. The plan is really, one of these collaborative efforts, which is amazing. We've had over 50 different organizations that have participated to give their feedback on how we design this new plan. There's city people, regular city folks. We have the Austin Energy, the Office of Sustainability, the Equity Office, Austin Transportation. Then we have like nonprofits like LifeWorks, Foundation Communities. We have universities like Houston Tillotson was there at the table. We have St. Edward's, UT. It's just an amazing list of people coming together to really help to make sure that we are designing a plan that is for the people. And so what I can do is in the chat here, I will provide a link to that plan so you all can go and look at it. I know that someone had asked about who exactly were the partners that participated for the feedback. If you go look into the full report there, you'll see on page 122 begins to list all of those individuals that participated. So you can kind of see there's everyday people, regular community citizens, all the way to executives at city organizations and private entities as well.
So it sounds like there's a very detailed kind of inclusive, I guess, planning process going on. Is this program like in the planning stage, or is it doing something? I don't know how to ask this question. Like, is it kind of yet? What?
It's a good question. And basically we're challenged. We need to get to net zero by 2040. Okay, so we'll talk about that first. As it relates to transportation electrification, what that means is that, so real quick, let me kind of preface this by stating that we've seen a big shift. All of a sudden, transportation has now surpassed the energy sector. Transportation is the #1 greenhouse gas emitters out there. So we have to address that immediately. And that's why this Austin Energy, the Evie team was very much involved in this plan, because there's a very heavy transportation electrification component. And what this means for Austin is that 40% of miles traveled will all be, or will 40% of those will be electric by 2030. And that's the way that we're going to get, that's the math that's going to get us to net zero by 2040. So in order to do that, we have to look at things like our bus system. Cap Metro has a vision and has committed to going 100% electric. The timing was just beautiful. It kind of coincided along with the approval of this plan. Cap Metro received funding to fund 200 buses, electric buses. They announced in 2019 on Earth Day that they were no longer going to purchase gas emitting buses. And so they're living up to that. They're leading by example. We have to do things like the city of Austin is leading by example. We are transitioning our entire city fleet to electric vehicles. We currently have over 300, have transitioned over 300 in the last 3 years, which was a part of that original 2015 climate equity plan. So we're continuing to forge forward to make that transition there. So we've got also.
So when we see an Austin Energy truck, I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. So when we see an Austin Energy truck, some of them are already electric.
The bucket trucks are not electric yet. And as you know, if you kind of get in a little more on this technology and do some research, the bigger vehicles are not really there yet. But we have a lot of city fleet, like cars that, basically cars that people are driving, a lot of city fleet. And all of those are being transitioned. And as soon as we get access to these vehicles, yes, they will be electric. And the technology is just not quite there on that. We're going to start seeing the market there. Like, for example, for Texas, it's going to be such a big thing to start seeing trucks like become electric, because, in Texas, we love our trucks. So we're going to start seeing that very soon.
That reminds me, Ed, am I understanding correctly? Is Highly Ion, I don't know how you say it, is that the company that actually manufactures, is now manufacturing like drivetrains to electrify like vans and trucks or something like that?
Yeah, that's right. It's a really innovative idea, and they've had a lot of success initially raising money for this idea. So they're basically The way I understand it is they are a company that helps trucks, big rigs, convert to electric power. And they're doing that two ways. One's a kit that you can put on an existing truck that will help drivers reduce idle time and run their systems when they're not actually driving. And then they also have a electric drivetrain that they're partnering on with original equipment manufacturers like Peterbilt and some of the other ones to actually install this as they're being built, and it'll be an option that will have some sort of electrification and assist during drive. So make like a hybrid. It's very interesting, and there's a lot of people excited, thinking it's going to be really a difference maker in this particular industry. And don't forget that plans at the Gigafactory here in Texas with Tesla is for them to make a semi at this factory as well. So it's not coming out in the next year or two, but it will be coming out eventually out of Austin.
We have two companies in town that might be making semis, or at least contributing.
That's correct. Absolutely.
And if you saw the release of the original Tesla truck, semi truck, I guess it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago now that happened, but they didn't really do anything else with it after that. They just kind of said, here's what we're working on. And it was a big truck, and it was just like any other truck. And I think at the time it was limited to maybe 500 miles, but at least, I'd say a great deal of trucking that occurs in America is that distance or shorter. Mm-hmm. So,
and it's not electrification, but there's another company here in town called Flow Below, and they make aerodynamic packages for 18-wheelers that reduce their fuel consumption. So it can reduce their fuel consumption by 2 to 3%. And if you're driving nonstop for a full year, you can actually save quite a bit of money on that and reduce your fuel. But yeah, there's a great example of the Tesla Semi. I mean, it's a pretty beautiful truck, like most of their products. They definitely have a good design team.
And we could put a little stamp on that says "Made in Austin." That's
right, made in Austin.
Personally, I want the Cybertruck though. I think when you get in it, you're in the future.
I have not seen one yet, but I agree. It's a pretty bold design, and I'm looking forward to seeing them on the road.
Speaking of seeing things on the road, when this past weekend, there was an Electrify Expo out at the Circuit of the Americas track, and Barrett and I took a trip out there to just see what was going on there. And boy, were there a lot of things available that were electric now. Shockingly, there was a ski boat out there. Made by one of the best ski boat manufacturers in America, and I have to admit I was kind of shocked to see that they actually have one built and it's for sale. Selwyn, if you could bring up that photo of that ski boat, we've got to see that. There it is, beautiful. The Chris Craft company makes those. It's Ski Nautique is the actual brand name on it, but that thing can operate for about 2 hours. And it's the typical boat that you see on Lake Austin right now, where you have all these boogie board guys out there and wakeboarders operating. And so other things that we saw out there, oh, here we go. This was my favorite thing. This is the hydrofoil device that's basically a surfboard that floats above the water. I think it's called Flightboard. And for the low price of $13,000, you can have one. And this is just an example of what we saw out there. A lot of bikes were out there, a bunch of different kinds of bikes. But as manufacturers go here in Austin, I think we have another one called Volcon. And Ed, maybe you can tell us a little bit about what they're doing.
Yeah, Volcon's another great example of some interesting companies that are operating here and making a difference in electric vehicles. They are a recreational vehicle focused company, and they make 3 products, I believe, which the first they're launching is a motorcycle that's electric. And the second is like a go-kart, off-road go-kart. It's a Razor. And then the fourth is that bigger vehicle. Obviously, it's multi-purpose and pretty durable. So, these things are a lot of fun to drive. There's a huge market for them. I think there's a lot of interest in this space, and I think they're poised to have a lot of success.
And they're building
they're
those
like our
now.
local competitor to Rivian, not in the sense that they're making a truck, because they're not really, but Rivian is, from what I understand, is initially trying to build really cool outdoor experiences using the power of the electric, what electric can make possible outdoors. And it sounds like Volcon is doing that for smaller, more personal vehicles. Is exciting.
Yeah, and I think also, it'll be interesting to see, 10, 15 years from now, who the ultimate winners are, because I think you can see probably traditional recreational vehicles or manufacturers like Kawasaki and Honda and Yamaha probably contributing their own electric products, as this market continues to evolve. But much like, with Tesla, it took a new player to come in and really push for some change, and you're seeing it right now. So.
Well, out at the Electrify Expo, there were a number of automobile manufacturers, including, the big names. The most impressive one I saw was the Porsche, because the guy we were talking to from Porsche, he said it's very odd to see a 911, regular 911 Porsche up next to the new electric Porsche and watch the old 911 lose in a head-to-head battle. So the future is going to be faster. There's the Porsche right there. And basically really good looking cars too.
So I'm looking at I'm looking at that website there. If you could go back to that page or maybe the slide, because we were out there and I just saw my booth. I wish you guys would have come and said hi. I had no idea you were going to be out there, but that you could see the little orange, sort of looks like a circus top. There we are.
Personally, we spoke with two of your colleagues. Actually,
you did? Oh, because I was out there. We had a big presence. We were real involved in Industry Day and with presentations, and then we were out there just talking to regular people. And it really is exciting. They conducted over 17,000 demos of electric vehicles at that event, which is mind-boggling. But that's what happened. And we were able to interact with a lot of people who had a lot of questions that are really starting to think about electric. And you see the Porsche out there, but you also see the Hyundai and you see the Kia. The Kia is gorgeous. They have 4 different vehicles that they're going to be launching, and they're beautiful. And there we are. That's our city Bolt there. And that's one of the city fleet that I mentioned that we're driving. That's our team car. But yeah, we are just so excited to see an event like that. So it's North America's biggest electric vehicle event to date, happening right here in Austin. And they're coming to Austin because we're seeing all this tech surrounding, the area, bringing electric vehicle adoption, the tech, and then the programs that we are creating at Austin Energy for people to be able to really make that transition. I had a question over in the chat that someone was asking about the electric, the home rebates to drive electric. And so one of the things that we are trying to do to help reach people is to bring incentives that can help people go electric. When you get into an electric vehicle.
Sounds good. Tell us more.
Yes, let me tell you more. So one of the things, it's all about behavior shift and just kind of changing the way that we've been doing things forever. And that's a hard thing to do. But one of the things is I'll tell you is that if you have a home with a garage, you can pull your car into that garage or carport, and you can plug that car into a regular wall outlet, a 110, 120 regular wall outlet, just like you charge your cell phone or you plug your hair dryer into. This is the same plug that will charge your car overnight. Some people really prefer to have a faster charge, and we do offer rebate incentives for EV charging stations for home charging. It's up to $1,200 that we offer, and that's for the in-network communicating charger. If you're going to just get a charger that's non-Wi-Fi enabled, we will rebate it up to $900. And some people really enjoy that. It's a faster charge. It's anywhere from 4 to 6 hours to charge from 0 to 100% on that level 2 charger. That plug is a 240 volt, and it's kind of the same setup in terms of electric power as what you would use for a dryer. So those are some of the thanks for pulling that up, Selwyn. You can see some of the incentives and the programs that we're offering to help folks decide about going electric. And one thing I'd like to mention, since we're talking about living, because transportation and home are so connected, and we really want to make sure that we're addressing neighbors that live in multi-unit housing. Because if they don't have a garage to plug that car into, it's very difficult. So one of the things
I hear that all the time from people talking about electric cars. I live in an apartment. My friend lives in an apartment. So what do we do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big initiative across the country. Austin Energy, we are working to expand multifamily right now. We have a big effort around that with working with the apartment complexes. We're ranked number 4 on reaching the best in terms of reaching multifamily. But we really do have a long way to go.
So just for understanding, what is it that's happening at the apartments? Like, are you helping finance chargers to be there, or what is it that's happening?
What's happening is we're working with the community stakeholders. Like, for example, we work with foundation communities. They want to have electric vehicle charging at their property for all of their, it's affordable housing. And they want that. They see the vision of environmental health and wellness. So we are working with them in terms of helping identify where is the best place to place this charger, where, we have architect, designers, engineers that can come out and support with that. We also, it's basically providing community charging for that community. So we will provide that rebate to make that a reality in order for these properties to be able to offer this out to their residents.
Hey, Amy, I'm curious. Obviously, a big infrastructure bill just got passed out of Congress last week. How's that funding going to impact Austin Energy's ability to deliver some of these infrastructure issues?
Well, obviously, we're hoping that it's going to get funneled down to our community, and I think that it will eventually. And we work a lot with Department of Energy. In fact, I guess it was 8 years ago, we deployed the first charging stations, 113 stations funded by the Department of Energy, and now that's grown exponentially. So we hope that we will have that support. And as I mentioned earlier about the climate equity plan, it really is a reflection of the conversations and of that COP26 that's happening right now. It really aligns with that, and they look for that. And we do have connections to help those conversations, and it's going to be collaborative. It's going to take funneling down those funds to organizations like Austin Energy in order to help disperse the funding for the charging stations.
That's exciting. I think it's really important to get concrete and get these things done. I've been impressed when I just see the map with all the charging stations in the charging network that Austin Energy makes available for that, that $417 a month that you were saying people can sign up for. It's just impressive to see how many charging stations there really are on the map already.
We can't keep up with updating that map. We have so many properties and retail that really want to provide it. They see it as essential, and it's here now. There's a conversation that happens a lot. I'm sure you have heard of it, and it's the chicken and the egg. What comes first? Is it the infrastructure or the people with cars? I just don't even know if there's an answer to that. So we're just trying to keep up with both.
Well, sometimes I've heard, in a situation where you have a lot of different needs and a lot of different like paths to follow. You know, you need a bunch of different people trying different things. One of my favorite things we saw, I think someone was showing we have a wonderful volunteer named Selwyn who's been showing all these different pictures, by the way. And he was showing the split volt, the thing on the dryer. And it runs off of, it adds on to the dryer switch in your house. And you can buy this, if I'm remembering correctly, the man said you can buy this split volt adapter from this company, Split Volt, for about $350. And it plugs into the regular dryer outlet volt. And if you run your dryer, the outlet powers the dryer. And if it doesn't, and if you're not running your dryer, then that power is available through that adapter to go charge your car. And so you don't have to physically build in a charging outlet, but you can still get the solid level of charging that provides. So I think that's a really great opportunity for somebody who can't do the permit, can't get it built, is a renter in a house, all those kinds of things. As long as you have a dryer, you can put in the split volt, and it's like only $350. That's kind of a deal. And so it was nice to see these different solutions popping up. There's, like you say, there's a lot of different needs, but there's a lot of different ways coming to Hope. So
a lot of innovation, absolutely.
We have gotten several different questions from people. One of them from one of our volunteers actually was, do ARMA, the Ed, your manufacturers association, and Austin Energy have specific ways of working together on the Austin Climate Equity Plan?
You know, I'm not fully engaged in that specific area. We do a lot of work together, and obviously Austin Energy is a critical partner for manufacturers. You know, you have to have reliable and affordable energy to operate effectively. But I can tell you that manufacturers are very involved with some of the green programs out of Austin Energy. I believe that manufacturing and industrial customers are the largest user of Green Choice. And, you know, it might surprise a lot of people, but, you know, a lot of these companies have pretty forward-leaning climate or green goals, and Austin Energy gives them a variety of ways to accomplish that. So ARMA does not personally do it, but our community does work closely with Austin Energy on it.
We had another question from a viewer who was curious about what you were talking about earlier, Ed, about finding talent for these manufacturers, and they asked specifically the question of if there are opportunities for adults already working in clean room facilities. Is that something you can talk about?
I think a way I understand that question is maybe there's people out there that might be interested in getting a job at these facilities. And absolutely, there's a couple of great programs. The first I would mention is our rapid training program in partnership with the community college and another community-based organization called Skill Point Alliance. You can get a training, a 160-hour training that will prepare you in safety, quality, maintenance, and process, and you could get a job at one of these facilities. We have a terrific group of employers that are involved with that. It includes Samsung and Applied Materials and NXP, some really great companies. And after you get through the training, you know, you're likely to get hired. I think most of our candidates right now are getting 6 or 7 offers as they get out of the program. It is geared more towards an entry level type of role, but still it's a great job. And if you enjoy the work, you know, get along with your coworkers and show up every day, it's likely you're going to get advancement opportunities, and it can be a real pathway to a legitimate career. So if anybody has interest in that program, I'm more than happy to get them connected.
It's called Skill Point.
Skill Point Alliance is one of the community-based organizations offering the training. The other one is Austin Community College. Both are terrific, and both have the same companies participating in them. So
what is it that somebody's looking up if they're looking to do this?
Yeah, so if you're out there and you're interested in a career change and might want to explore manufacturing, these two groups offer this 160-hour training. It goes for 4 weeks. And
What's it called? I mean, what does somebody
yeah,
Google look it up?
at the end of it, you get a certification called the Certified Production Tech. And it's a nationally recognized certification that our industry partners want to see their new employees have. So, yeah, here's Skill Point Alliance. So once you get this certification, you can go anywhere in the United States, and most likely a major manufacturer will recognize it and be excited that you're applying for some of their open positions.
So you don't need technician experience. You don't need fabrication experience. This is your ticket to entry.
This is your ticket. Yeah. If you're out there working in a restaurant and sick and tired of it, this is a great chance to get a real long-term career. If it's a very fitting for anybody, whether if you're an accountant and you're sick and tired of crunching numbers, this is the right training program for you. So I hope people explore it. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to connect with them and help them meet the right people to get into the class. If you qualify financially, the workforce board will actually fund your training. So it could be no cost to you, and is a great way to, make it more easily achievable.
On that note, I'm curious, are these manufacturers also doing a lot of R&D here in Austin?
Yeah, they are. There is an interesting ecosystem here in connection with the University of Texas and A&M close by and Baylor. I mean, you see a lot of, tier one research happening in the area. A lot of that is spinning off into startups and companies. A lot of the major companies here are doing R&D here as well. A lot of the smaller companies are more focused on developing products and not so much on production. But there's a lot of talented folks in this area and a lot of interesting companies doing, some pretty far out things. So it's always exciting when you walk in the door and go on the factory floor and see what's being built.
Do you want to mention a couple of the other companies that are here? We've had some people asking about what are specific businesses, other companies here in Austin.
Yeah, and maybe before I mention those specific companies, I wanted to point something out, and Amy kind of brought it up when we were talking about this festival that's in town, that's one of the largest EV gatherings in the world. If you look at what's happening in Central Texas, I really think we are poised now to be a leader in the next generation of technologies that are really changing the world. You see like this company like Tesla setting up here, the Samsung expansion, the semiconductors we have, but also, we have a $1 billion announcement, just 2 weeks ago with this Energy Chem that's building a huge solar plant with a utility grade battery storage in Caldwell County. It's a great example of how renewable energy of the future is being established here, and I just really feel like something special is happening that is going to really help us lead the world in some of these technologies. So I'd be paying attention to that if you're out there interested in this space. If you go back to specific company names, a lot of them are really small. Some of them have more recognition. Look at like Firefly Aerospace or some of Elon Musk other companies like the Boring Company or SpaceX. You have tool makers and more traditional manufacturing like Athena Manufacturing and Cortec. Other advanced electronics companies. I'm talking to a gentleman today who makes audio equipment for recording studios, and it's a relatively new company, and he's having a lot of success. Another kind of far out technology is a woman who started a company here making diamonds from ashes of cremated loved ones. And yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal. So, the technology is advanced where these machines can actually make diamonds out of ashes, and she's providing that as a service. So, like I said, dig around. I think you'll find a lot to be proud that's right here in our backyard.
I wanted to have one more question for Amy regarding the Austin Energy program for helping people get rebates for buying vehicles. Amy, can you tell us how that actually works?
So Austin Energy doesn't provide specific rebates for getting into the vehicles, but you will see, and perhaps someone can bring up that slide again. You will see incentives, federal incentives. Will also, Texas has incentives as well, and the Texas, I believe, just released. So they release sort of annually. It's not a promise, but they do release it, and it's kind of each OEM gets basically, or each like car brand, in other words, gets a certain amount of money for those rebates, and it's a first come first serve basis, and they do run out. But those are just some things to look at there. The offerings that we're bringing are around the charging infrastructure, which I mentioned earlier, and then around the $417 per month for the level 2 community charging subscription.
I did look at your website recently regarding electric vehicles, and I was surprised you had listings of actual cars on there and what the actual federal tax credit would be. There you go, sell one, thank you. And so as a consumer, you can really look at what's available. There's a lot to choose from, and you can see what your rebates would be. And this is for new cars, I'm assuming.
Well, actually, so this is super exciting. This is one of our latest initiatives, and it's called the Evie Buyer's Guide. And we're super excited about it. It's an award-winning program. And what it is basically, as you're looking here, it's how to help you find the EV that's right for you, that's going to fit your budget, that's going to fit your lifestyle, and that's available here in the Austin market. One of the things that we heard from our customers, and actually there was a blog post that was written from Amy Stansberry, who is a big activist here in green energy in Austin. And she wrote a blog post about how she tried to buy an EV in Austin and how she couldn't. She couldn't buy it. She knew what she wanted. She went to the dealership and she was being talked out of buying that EV. So what we've done is it was the Bloomberg Mayor's Challenge that we participated in. We wrote a grant proposal and we were awarded to forward this idea around an auto dealership engagement. That's a 360 approach because it also has this consumer piece, what we were just looking at. It's the online EV Buyer's Guide where you can filter out, sort of the different offerings there, the different options on that car. And then it's live time. It refreshes every night. So if you see a car tonight that you're interested in, you can go to that dealership tomorrow and that will be on the lot. And it's for new and used because we really want to reach everyone. And there's some amazing used vehicle deals that you can get into. I mean, we know, like I said, I've got a bunch of teachers in our EVs for Schools program that drive used EVs. But there's also, like some of our council members are driving used EVs too. And it's just a really interesting way to kind of dip your toe in the water at a lower cost than what you might think to get into a new car to try out that used vehicle. And really what we're trying to do here with all of our outreach and marketing around this technology is we know that when we're talking to the community, when I'm here talking with you today, I know you're not going to go buy a new EV tomorrow based on this conversation, but there will be a time that you might want to consider buying a new car, or you might have to. We are very car dependent. And when you do, we just hope that you will look at electric vehicles. And I mean, I can tell you once you go EV, you're not going to go back because they are fun to drive. They are a cost savings, and I never knew that I was interested in cars, but I'm driving an EV now as of June, and I like fast cars now. So it's really something I never knew about myself.
Well, it's the future. It's happening, and what's out there. There's so much available. There's a lot of choices to make, and like you said, with the used car market, they're affordable.
Yeah.
I actually bought a Toyota Camry hybrid a few years ago, and I was shocked at how inexpensive it was to get one that was just a few years old. As soon as I finish paying that one off, I'm going to get an electric vehicle and get out of buying gasoline altogether. And part of the reason that we're doing this program is to encourage our viewers to please go get an electric vehicle. If you have two cars in your garage, one of them should be electric. I mean, honestly, there's no reason to buy gasoline cars anymore. If you've already got one and you want to go a long distance, you have it. But for that in-town driving around, which is what 90% of what we're doing, it seems like the most important thing to do is to use your pocketbook to make the changes that we all need to make personally and within, like what Ed's doing is encourage, but what you and Ed are doing is encouraging these things to happen on much larger scales. And so I just wanted to thank y'all because we're basically out of time now for being with us tonight. Do you have any parting thoughts for us, Amy?
Parting thoughts. Oh gosh, and you're putting me on the spot now. Yeah, go electric. That's my parting thought. But also, I'm a resource for you too. amy.atchley@austinenergy.com. If you have any questions on this journey, I'm your resource, and you will see us out in the community. If there are anybody in the school system that are interested in this Evie curriculum, reach out to me. I can help you with that. And again, it's the future is here. It's quite exciting to see where Austin is heading. And I'm just hoping that you all will be a part of it along with myself and with Austin Energy and the panelists here tonight.
Yeah, and if I could add, it's going to drive me crazy, but I'll slip this in. I forgot to mention Yada Solar. It was another member here in Austin. They're making a terrific solar panel with a battery storage pack that goes on commercial rooftops. They're also playing a big part in climate change and helping companies meet their renewable goals. So check them out as well.
How do you spell that? Y-A-D-A?
Yada is spelled Y-O-T-T-A. And actually, I think they're branding on the name Yada Energy now. So really cool startup, poised to make a difference. Yeah, that's a great shot of their technology right there on their website.
And it's a battery and a panel together.
It is, yeah. So what's unique about them is they give you a unit so that this battery packs are charging during the day, and then you can use the energy that's stored for a variety of applications, whatever you want. But typically, later at night when the sun isn't, charging. So it's a great
solution. Opportunity because it really simplifies the buying decision. You don't have to configure it. They have a package because you want both sides probably. So that's a really great idea.
Yeah, exactly. I think they've had a lot of success. So you guys explore that as well. But hey, I really enjoyed the conversation, Martin and Barrett. I appreciate the invitation, and I really look forward to seeing what we do as a community moving forward. I think all the pieces are there to do something great. So
brilliant. Thanks for being here, both of y'all tonight. And thank y'all in the audience for joining us. And in a couple of months, we'll have another show, and we'll probably be talking about what happened in Scotland with the COP26 meeting, so that we can understand the subtle nuances of those decisions that are happening there. Thank you again, Selwyn and Barrett, and we'll see you again in a couple of months. Good night.
Yeah.